Well, on the 9th of March, I understand, and I believe that Gary, Paul and Kirsty Downey went to Lakes Boulevard, and they issued warrants to all the homeowners to tell them they had to get out of their homes before Cyclone Hula hit, and that their homes were dangerous, I suppose. And then, I suppose in that warrant, it had some conditions, I understand. Some of the conditions were putting up safety fences and securing things down, and before the cyclone, I suppose.
So we're talking about 9th of March, and that was to have happened by perhaps middle of April.
I think it was about 2 weeks. All of that had to happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then what's meant to happen to it?
Then what happens is the warrant is meant to go to the courts. If the homeowners disagree that they shouldn't leave the homes, right, which none of them agreed to, they were all forced out and threatened that if they didn't leave, they'd get up to a $200,000 fine, or they could spend time in prison. They had no choice, so the homeowners left. Now the warrants should have had to actually go to court and be ratified after that. So the judge should have signed them off, saying, okay, these warrants are okay.
So the latest statement from council is that they had the approval of the homeowners to not submit it to the court. Do you know any more about that?
From what I've heard is that the warrants, because they weren't ratified at the time they were meant to be by the council, they made it one of the conditions of the settlement with the homeowners. So unless the homeowner agreed to sign the settlement agreement, the council would have just stretched them out longer and longer and longer and worn them down as they do. And this is their strategy, divide and conquer. So what they do is they just stretch people out for as long as they can, and they know what the consequences are. Like when they delayed everything on the Bella Vista sites, because they knew at the end of the day that we wouldn't be able to survive this. I believe they've wasted probably $20 million on this, and they're not telling the ratepayers of the public actually the actual amounts and how much they've actually wasted. They may have got $10.5 million from an insurance company, but it's cost the ratepayers a lot more than that, especially with credibility for the city.
So they charge about $1,500 for somebody who does a Lagoma request in some cases, not to do with Bella Vista that I know of.
Yeah.
So if every Lagoma that they've had to do for free, for example, would they be added up to the $1,500? So just the hidden costs they have are going to sweep right under the carpet.
Huge amounts of hidden costs there. Huge amounts. As to date, I think last December, I think the lawyers' bill for Nathan Spears was up over $1 million.